Have a nice evening, all of you who will watch us, and a nice time no matter in which moment of the day you will see us. So tonight I have a really great guest for my live talk. Another one of the great guests I used to have. And this is conductor and double bass player Enrico Fagone, Italian musician who is living currently in Lugano. So, well, I think I don't need really to introduce him, but I can just say some words before he join us. So, all critics and great musicians talking about his charismatic personality, saying to him like extraordinary, true artist, musician. And without talking anymore by myself, I will just join him to our talk. Normally it works. Buonasera Enrico, come stai?
Ciao, buonasera. Bene, tu?
Bene, grazie. È un piacere di parlare con te stasera e grazie mille per trovare il tempo per una ora di live talk Ad Libitum.
Piacere mio, thank you, grazie.
Allora, parliamo inglese e italiano. Tu se preferisci puoi parlare sempre italiano, ma no, forse non sempre, ma vediamo. Ma io non posso parlare tutto il tempo.
Up to you. We can stay in English. For me, it's fine.
Perfect. So let's try. When I can say in English, I will say in Italian. When I can say in Italian, we will try with hands, whatever. We will figure it out.
Fish and meat.
Yeah. So, Enrico, when I was preparing myself to talk to you, I made some notes, and suddenly I decided. I don't know what you think. I will make a proposition, an offer, une proposition. So I find some names and some places. I think they are important for you and having big resonance and in your life, in your career. And I propose you to try to talk like this. Like I say something, I say this name or something, and you just telling me what's coming in this moment for reaction. Okay? It's okay for you?
Sure.
Perfect. It's first time I try this. What's up? Yes. So it's a lot of names. I hope I will have time for all of them. So let's try by childhood.
So my time when I was young, you mean, no?
Very young, piccolino. What the strongest emotions of childhood?
Yes. In this moment, I remember that in the summer we spent always almost 1 month in Nocera Inferiore. It's a little town near Salerno, Naples area in south, because my mother come from there. And I always was sick. I always fell down in the summer. I never felt good, when I was child. And I remember that this accent from Naples area was too strong for me, because with my family, we were living near Milano, in Somalia, little town near Milano. And I arrived there, and I remember they speak so loud, South people, like my mother. And the first 2 days was always very strong. And then I felt very warm from this accent and this. And then basically when I was young, I was very lazy. My mother always tell me, you don't want to make nothing, or also with toys, And then also study. I don't like study. I was very bad in the school. And then when I was 12 years old, I discovered guitar. And then I discovered my world with music, and I spent all my live from this moment, closing one room, studying guitar and then bass.
Okay, so yeah, actually next word was double bass.
Yes, I did request to the Conservatory of Piacenza for guitar. But then I arrived there, and in my little town, my teacher was like heavy metal, rock and roll, this kind of teacher. And I arrived at the conservatory, and they playing this music, classic music. I don't have idea what it was. And the only piece that I was able to do with fingers was Nottingham Mother by Metallica. That looks a little bit not so aggressive. So I enter in the room with my guitar with the metallic strings, and I say to the jury, "Good morning, this is my composition." And I play this piece by Metallica. And they look at each other and say, "Yes, you have such a talent, but not for guitar, please. And we need double bass player." And I say, no, I don't like it. I back at home, and my father say, "Come on, you can enter in the school with bass, and then you can change with guitar." And I say, no, for 2 days. And the third day, I say, okay, let's try. So I back to the school, and I meet my professor, Leonardo Colonna, and he told me, he took my hand in the exam, he put my hand on the bass. I say, I played in every group, every orchestra that you know, and if you have a talent, if you follow me, you will become one of the best in the world. I say, okay, let's try. And then from this moment, it was very interesting because I used the bass just for transformation of my soul. I never really choose this instrument with love, but it was the only possibility for me, and I tried.
Interesting. But remind me, I was already seeing some parallels, but now I see them even more, because next name it's gonna be Giacomo Bottesini. I will just say some words. So this guy was calling like Paganini of double bass. He was friend of Verdi. I'm not sure that so many people know his music. I don't know. Actually, I discovered, like, mea culpa. But he was first who conducted Aida in Cairo. And he wrote like many operas. He was conducting, playing double bass, composing. And I asked, and actually I read very interesting thing that he also wanted to enter in the school, and it was only two possibilities. And one was double bass, so he learned like in 1 week or something, right, to having scholarship and get in the school. So is he somehow your model or your hero? Because I know you have a strong connection with him from competition and your recordings. Can you talk about this, please?
Yes, basically, of course, when I started with guitar, I didn't know Bottesini, so this was live. Often in the young time, when I was young, many people didn't choose bass. Now it's more popular because a lot of people play jazz, electric bass, and want to choose. But at that moment,
yeah, it's not like some instrument which makes like really dreaming in first time, right?
Bottesini tried in Milano with violin, and they say we have a place for bassoon and the bass, and he chose bass because it was a string instrument. And then he said, in that moment, he said, of course, I will become the Paganini of this instrument, no? And that was, for me, was totally different, because when I started, of course, I don't have I'm not a genius, I'm nothing in comfort of Bottesini, and I had no idea about classic music in that time. So for me, it was everything new, and I was very excited for everything. But Bottesini was very special because he really did what never one did before. He forced the instrument, he changed the instrument, and it was very crazy. He always spent money with women and casino, and he playing with cards. He was very artist. There is a beautiful letter with Rossini, where Rossini said, "Caro Giovanni, I spoken about you with the king of Austria, but be careful because you always lost money later in the casino. So think about your old age, keep some money, And it is so sweet, no? And he was very big artist. Can you imagine in that time? He studied strong composition also in Milano, and then he got to Cuba. And he was as a principal bass in the orchestra, and there they asked him to conduct, and there he start to conduct, and he made a composition for a colon in Cuba. And they made the first opera by him. He conduct his music, and was very and then he became famous also in Italy, and the Verdi, yes, he composed he conducted the first of Aida in El Cairo, and also Verdi 1 month before to die asked Bottesini to become director of the Verdi Conservatory in Parma. So that means a lot of. He had a very big respect for all classic music world of that time.
It's beautiful. And for you, what is the particular link to him? Because I know you are artistic director of this competition. I don't know if it's so many. If this competition is only for double bass?
Yes. This is.
Is it many of them existing in the world like this, just for double bass?
No, there is a few. Let's say there is 3 or 4 very important, like Kusewiski in St. Petersburg, Sperger competition in Germany in Ludwigslust, and Bottesini in Crema, and some more like Bradetich in America. Or there is like say 5, 6 maybe around kind of this competition. But for us it's different. It's not like Tchaikovsky or competition, or because the instrument is orchestral.
I understand, yeah, of course.
So even if you win, of course, you become popular in the bass world, and but you have to find an orchestra by the way, or teaching. You cannot say, okay, now I'm starting with solo career, no? And so it is different, but it's very important keep this kind of competition, because students can have some focus, no? Say, I want to make this competition, no? Because for us sometimes it's difficult that we have only audition, and maybe sometimes it is so difficult to study for audition, because you have to study except just one bar, and sometimes you feel alone, no? Outside of the music, because we have to just, sometimes it is bad to say, but when you make audition, you have just you have to be right, and don't play mistake. In solo competition, you can accept yourself more, and you can say, you sit in front of you, not me, but the people of the jury are very important, the best in the world, the bass player. Not myself, but other people. So it's very important to have a focus, like people every 2 years I want to go. And it's also very romantic for me that all people from the world come to the little town of Bottesini and see where he was living, where he made the first concert. No, because unfortunately he was a bass player, no? So I feel that I have to help him to become more famous. Because
I have your interview when you actually were talking about it, and I find it very touching, because you said that your role is making people having fun with music of Bottesini, and to make Bottesini even more famous and known by people.
Yes.
So. But I also have seen that you are very in contact with composers. Have you? I imagine you contribute to creations, maybe to pieces, to contrabass, because like you said it yourself, it's not instrument which we imagine easily like a solo instrument. Or I know some concertos for contrabass, but not so many, like with orchestra. And actually, I was very impressed. I don't remember, I was still in Baku during my studies, and honestly, I forgot the name of musician, but even the piece. But it was amazing concerto. I think first time in my life I understood that contrabass actually a beautiful instrument, and if it's played differently, it sounds very rich, very warm sound, very like I don't know how to like contralto, like very and it could be very virtuosistic and quite amazing. Is it composers of our days, nowadays, composing something for particularly with, well, even if not for solo contrabass, but maybe with more important roles?
Yes. For example, let's say the most important composer that made something very interesting in the last year is Tan Dun, like the very important Chinese composer. He wrote the Wolf for bass and orchestra. It was premiered with Concertgebouw Orchestra, principal bass of Concertgebouw Orchestra. And yes, in my little career, I did something also for bass. Last year, for example, in the Bottesini competition, we had a commission from very important Italian composer Fabio Vacchi. He wrote a piece for us for the competition. And yes, for me, write Jorge Bosso, Raffaele Bellafronte, and many composers. We work together. I love work with composer. And then when I started to study composition and conducting, being in touch with composer was the most important things for me, because you can really understand how they create the sound and why they use a triangle or pizzicato, viola and trombone together. You can have some advice, to say, you see Beethoven or Schubert, they always compose in this way, always use this accord, and you can understand better from their view. Because as a player, I have a lot of experience how to manage, for example, lesson, or how to stay with people in the orchestra, because I have experience with that, how to manage psychologically the orchestra, how in this symphony, I remember that my colleague Obwe was very scared. I remember this symphony is very important and you can see that first rehearsal, the face of Obwe is scared, or clarinet, or, you can, all these tracks.
I understand. It's from inside and from outside. And actually, next word was conducting. So you did the transition by yourself. So can you tell how is desire to conduct came to you? In which moment you decided to just not always sitting? Because I know you do the both. You continue to be a double bass. I don't know which part came first. What do you prefer? We speak about Orchestra della Svizzera Italiana first, or conducting?
Yes, let's speak about the orchestra. Yes, my home. This is a very special situation. It's a chamber orchestra. We are 40 people, 41, and we have like 17 nationality.
Wow! Not so bad for 41. Yeah.
Yes, and it's a very interesting orchestra, because was a radio orchestra before, and so when you have to record everything when you play, you have little stress, but keep you always high level. No? Even if you don't play for 2 million people, even if the hall is 1,000 or 500 or less, but you have the radio, you know that this will be recorded, and often you can see all the recording. For example, Stravinsky conducted our orchestra, and so this is a very special situation. About playing, in the last years, we had Markus Poschner, young conductor. He made very beautiful work with us. I got a lot of inspiration from himself. Kind of use like Baroque ideas, but playing with a modern instrument, and just very, very interesting idea about his view. And we won a prize 2 years ago, I think, with Brahms Symphony. And yes, is very, very special. Yes, and I have to say thank you to this orchestra, because I arrived there that I was 23 years old as a principal bass, and then I met Marta Vargedic, for example, not thanks to this orchestra, and that was so little orchestra that you have more contact with conductor, with soloist, and in the beautiful radio in Lugano. I don't know if you have been there. It's very little. Very nice space, and you can often make an interview with the radio before recording the stage, because was one now is
like house, yeah.
Yes. So this is and yes, I really like this. Of course, for me, it was always very important have even free air, let's say. So I've always some chamber music or some master class or some teaching or some concert out, because when you make some vacation, you love more your wife when you're back at home, no? And even with the orchestra, because when you stay always in the orchestra, I think all musicians is important. Focus always, and sometimes stay alone with yourself. Work in the forest, and as is important for relation, sometimes stay alone, don't stay always together, but work in the forest and feel yourself. Even as a musician is important, or sometimes stay alone on the stage, because not in my orchestra, but I play in many orchestra. I remember when I was young, I see many people that have this kind of problem, that play in tutti in the section, and they cannot play alone. They feel in stress, no? And that's because you always play with group, you feel together with group, and you forgot your sound.
Yeah.
For me, this is impossible, because I need always to feel and listen my focus, my sound, my contact with audience, and then join with big orchestra. This is very, very good, and play with conductor and have more inspiration and play big repertoire, because with bass, you don't have a big repertoire, no? So this is, but this is a very interesting group, and in the next years, I think we will listen more and more and more this name, because it's becoming very popular, and the level of the orchestra is very good. There is a lot of young people, and yes, I think is a very good group.
Great. And now about conducting. And I think this man was important for you, Jorma Panula, right?
Yes, Jorma Panula, yes.
So
yes,
can you...
for example, let's say 10 years ago, when I was watching conductor working with my orchestra, I said, yes, I cannot really understand why they want to conduct, because in some way they can have some help to us, but we can play even without, no? This was my idea at that time, And then when I became a father, Leonardo, now is almost 5 years old, my son. When I became father, let's say, when my wife was pregnant, so let's say 6 or 7 years ago, I felt that I became... I married my wife. I say, now I have to make something different, no? And I felt that I have to make something different, just to not make like a monkey that play always fast on bass, and people say, wow, bass can play like a cello, or bass can play well. No, that was not enough for me, no? Because I was so lucky that with bass I did everything what I can do, teaching everywhere and play everywhere with fantastic people. So I felt my ego with bass enough, no? And I have no more to make anything. So I think that I felt as a father, I have to make some change in my life. So when I decided make this difference in my life, I always study more. I started again composition, play the piano a little bit, and analyze now more the symphony of Brahms. I remember, and then Bach, and then everything because I was. And then I was feeling that I was not enough. And I remember I did a lunch in the radio with guys who was in front of me, and they said, I studied also conducting. Tomorrow is a starting course here with Marco Boni. He's a good teacher. He conducted the Concertgebouw. And they say, okay, maybe tomorrow I go to see you, no? And he told me, also, let's try to conduct Beethoven second movement. So I tried, and I felt, wow, maybe I was looking for that. And so that's I started, and that's when my kid was born. I was very good because I could not play bass because I have to sleep. So I almost stopped to practice bass, but I can study the scores.
It was good timing in all sense.
Yes. Yeah. And then my Leonardo really hated the bass for the first 2 or 3 years. So I never played bass at home. I always practice in the school or in the radio because when
Did he explain why he hated it? Or just no?
Sorry?
No, he was too small for explain why he didn't like it.
No, I say that it was like a monster.
Okay.
And now he's still to don't like. For example, when I play also sitar, Indian instrument, sitar, at home. I started a few months ago to learn, and he loved this instrument, sitar. So, but piano also he like, but he don't like bass. He don't like. I don't know why. It's but, I understand the sound is not so special. So.
Yeah.
So it's very particular. It's very particular sound, and so that's why I started to conduct, to study conducting, and then I studied in Milan. 1 year, 1 year in Parma for opera. 2 years in Parma for opera, with in Milan in a Bado school with Rivolta, and then I switched in Parma. Well, I was teacher of bass in this academy and a student of the conducting class. It was very fun, and it was very good teacher. From Milan Conservatory that gave me a lot of interesting for conducting. And then I moved for master class with in Spain with Jorma Panula, which is the best teacher of conducting. He's 92 years old. Pekka Salonen was his student. So, and he is like a devil, the worst teacher, like, oh, no, you're devil, Satana. He was like this. When a student makes some mistakes, say, Satana. But, this strong, you have in Baku, you have a kind of big school, close to Russia school, no? So, this kind of power school, but it's not about problem with you, but it's a problem with school, with make everything right, no? And this and I loved it. And I remember I arrived at that moment. I never conduct a professional orchestra because I don't want to make the mistake to start to conduct when I was not ready. Even if I have a lot of possibility, I always say, no, it's not the time. And then I go to him, and I did El Sombrero de Tres Picos of the Falla, and in this lesson. And I remember it was a lot of Spanish students, no, which is the Falla, a Spanish composer, and he always hates them. He was, no, we're wrong. And then I go to the lesson. I was so afraid, because can you remember when I arrived to this master class? I said, okay, he's off to Madrid. Nobody know me. I can go because I was teacher. I was afraid. I arrived there, and the 8th student. One of students come to me, but you are Enrico. You gave me master class at Juilliard School last year. I studied there. I said, oh my God. You know, I did a master class with my student, no? It was funny. And so I was afraid, no? After all these people, Panula hate everybody. So I go to the lesson, I start to conduct the orchestra, and they say, look at him, he's right, you don't know the score, no? To other Spanish people, no? And that was wow. And then in the lunchtime, we had the lunch with the class, and everybody go to la siesta, and I was drinking the coffee, and he called me, you, here. I go to close, and he told me something like, here, no good, you good. Now, where did you study? I said, I studied in Milan. I said, good. Stop, no? And that's a short conversation. Give me something like, okay, maybe I'm ready to try to make something. And then I follow him a lot in Helsinki, very cold city. And the master class everywhere, and yes, and I'm still in contact with him. Yes, he's a very, very, so because it's so different, teach conducting and be conductor. So be teacher. Often conductor are so egocentric person that they cannot be teacher because they want keep secret. When I speak often with very big conductor, you can feel it that if they know that you are conductor, if they know that you are orchestra, oh, come here. If they know that you are also conductor, they okay, maybe you can take something from me, And I understand. That's why there is not so many important conductors that teach. They keep for themselves, And they in the interview they speak about love and energy and blah blah blah. But then it's a very difficult, I think, to find. And Panula, he looks so horrible, man, when you speak sometimes because so strong. But he really loved to do that, and sometimes he do for free. His master class is not expensive, and there is a few conductors like Pavoyarvi, Muti. They do beautiful master class, but there is many that say just I don't teach. Also as a soloist, no, it's different. For example. It's different, for example, Marta, Argelis, Misha Maisky. If you ask to teach, then they say, I'm not able to do that. And I understand, because they are just talent. They are in the music. They are the music in some way. And they cannot explain this. I remember Misha say, I say, Misha, maybe you can list me, I play arpeggione, maybe you can give me some advice, no? I say, I'm not able to teach. And often when people after concert come to me and ask me if I can have a lesson or master class, I just say what I just did in the concert, no? And I think this is the only way where you have to touch these people. And this is idols, no? For many, many generations. I think it's very important never meet in life, just on the stage. Because
that's true.
You have a more imagination, you have a psychological transmission, no? And they stay there without no defect. No, perfect. Then you meet there, maybe you see drunk in the restaurant, see something bad. It's not good, no?
It's not so,
yes. Yeah. So when you really love some artist, some singer, or even a pop singer or actor, I think yes, it's very important. Keep distance for your love, no? Because
absolutely,
I think they can help more in this way.
Idol, and it stayed there. But when in some moment, maybe you also just understand that it's just a human, like all of us. So
exactly.
With more maybe talent, but still with weakness and problems and fears. Like we are all same in some way, even if we are different, right?
Yeah.
So next. Name is Marta Argerich. Yeah. So because I actually followed like many years your activities, and I have seen that you are very close with you participate. I have seen your CDs like live, Martarget Friends. You are almost in all editions, almost. And please tell how it happened, because you started to talk a bit. I understood that you met her during orchestra rehearsal or something, but tell if it's possible, like a bit about it. And after, about this interesting role you have, ambassador of Marta Argerich projects in the world. I imagine it's related to teaching pedagogy or something for young musicians, right?
Yes, I met her in Lugano for the festival, and I was lucky that she didn't have any friends with bass, so she don't invite some foreigners bass player, and so the artistic director Carlo Picardi, when they don't have people from festival, the Argerich friends, they ask to the orchestra. And so they made a tango concert, and I made many concerts in the festival with Dora Schwarzberg, with Polina, with Katia Bunatishvili, before to her, like 3, 4, 5 years, no? And then 1 year we had a tango project, and I played a lot of tango in Argentina with many people, tango player. So they asked me to play in this concert. And after the first rehearsal, I remember something like Panula. No, we were in the bar, and she said, "You're good," something like this. No, I like your tango way like this. And then she's totally different of Yorma Panula, of course, personality. She's very light and crazy and open and just follow the hairs, no? And we spent a beautiful week with Luis Bacalov, and Bacalov is the composer of the movie Il Padrino, the Postman. The composer, he won the Grammy, the Oscar for that, and was a fantastic pianist with Eduardo Huber, with Nestor Marconi, which is the new Piazzolla now in Argentina, no? And there was this week with a lot of these kids, crazy, interesting musician, tango player with Marta, and we had a beautiful concert for 3,000 or 4,000 people in the Plaza of Lugano, and then they asked me to join them in the tour. They were making a tour, and I made tour, and this was incredible for me. It was like one of the first important tours as a chamber music as a solo. It was organized by IMG Artists, the big agency, no? And and we played in Cortona, we played in Pietrasanta Festival. Michael Gutman is artistic director, and then from this, and also in Baku, I had an invitation without Marta, but with Bacalov. I remember in the Rostropovich Festival. But I had a problem. I was sick and I could not go. But they came in Baku. I remember maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And yes. So I started like this, and then often when we make some concert, she invite me, and then I was so lucky. I
have seen last year you conducted her list concerto in Torino.
Yes, we try. Yes. So she's very special. But as I said, if you love Marta, better don't meet her outside of the stage, because she's like a cat. Someday can be horrible, someday can be lovely, and she's not diva, but let's say that she had in some way you can see that she's like kid. She's very child, no, and because her social life, real social life, stopped at that time, because she became star at 9 years old, and when you become star on that age, it's very horrible life, because Yes, come on. He's not only be on the stage, no, live. That's why she basically in some moment ate the stage, and she loved be with friends, play with friends. Don't be alone on the stage, because she did it for her life, you know. And when you don't have something, you want to make it. And she's for example, there is such an important player that they want to steal career, they want to money, they want. No? She don't like it. She don't like career. She say, I want to stop to play. I understand her, because you know, everybody call her, come on Marta, come to play to my festival, come on Marta, and she's always. But then of course, in some moment she said, you know, my life is there, no? It is a piano. But she's very wonderful person. She's very special personality, and someone can say, oh, she was ugly with me. In that moment, I asked her autograph, and she tell me like this. But she's a real. It's not because she's diva. Because maybe she's really afraid to go on the stage. And of course, if you go to her before the concert, many artists say no. But she's so real that she don't make any polite answer some moment.
I understand. Socialization,
she's a very, very special person, and she's not for money. She's not for ego. She's not egocentric person. And you can see even people at 100 years old, very important, that they won't just be on the stage and show how to they win the warrior with piano. But she really loves the music. She's very special personality, and I think a lot of people should learn from her how to approach the music. She put always composer before herself, but really, because we always say, you know, but then we are really, when you finish concert and you feel this for yourself, you are really give this to the composer. Difficult, no?
Yeah, no.
Yes, for example, because I do a lot of yoga and spirituality life, meditation, so I always try to live in this way, you know. And she's very spiritual. She's very free person. She's very special in this way, and she teach to us how to with this project. For example, Marta Agic present project, we made a lot of edition in Argentina, because she had a horrible experience in Buenos Aires in air festival, like in, I don't know, 90 something or many years ago, like 20 years ago, I don't know. She had a Marta Agic festival. She had a problem, and she stopped, and she never back to Argentina for many years. I remember I was going to Buenos Aires in her home, and maybe staying there, and she was many years that she never go there, and because she had such a bad experience with this festival. And then she back to Argentina with us in, I don't remember, 2011 something, or maybe before, and in Rosario, not in the big city, you know, in Baires, in Buenos Aires, but in Rosario. We have a beautiful Italian theater, and we had a lot of working with the young musician of this generation. We create a scholarship for young pianists, Argentinian pianists. We bring them to Europe and help them to study here. You know, this kind of was the project. And then in the last year was less, because thanks to Barenboim, she back to Buenos Aires, to Teatro Colón, and they make a lot of project together, and it was beautiful because, of course, Barenboim and Marta are the most important pianist and musician in the world, but they are both from Argentina.
From Argentina, yeah.
So that's very sweet, and I'm happy that she finally back, and he is very strong, so he can really make everything for respect her. because she needs the people that make everything for her in this way. She's not a manager of. She can.
She's an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist, and Barenboim is fantastic artist, but he's also conductor.
But this is a gift. I think it's a talent to be having this power to organize things, because it's very difficult if you sometimes you feel lost. I mean, it's hard to do everything in the same time.
Yes.
Beautiful. And now opera. Well, you are Italian. For Italian, opera is like the second name of mom. I don't know. I imagine. I don't know. But I was listening actually, interview of Pavojari, who was saying that some conductors having more, more opera. Then others prefer stay with symphony, and he was talking about something like if he can't choose his own soloist, so it's not always interesting. It's not something which attracts him very much. How is it your experience with opera? What attracts you? Do you like to conduct operas? Like, why?
Yes, I grew up 15 or 20 kilometers from Verdi House in Busseto, no? So I grew up with opera, and I made my first master class with orchestra in Italy. I was playing Puccini. Let's say Puccini is the composer that I love more from all the composers.
He's amazing.
Yes, he's my favorite composer, like Bohème, etc. And so my first love was with opera, but for bass is so frustrating. So play opera, because you are the solid, but you play pizzicati often, and you are the drums and the harmonic important of the orchestra. But like my soloist personality was destroyed from this. And my first position that I won was in Torino, Teatro. I played 1 year in Teatro dell'Opera in Rome as a principal bass, and then I played with Santa Cecilia Orchestra 1 year, a little bit with La Scala, and then I arrived in Lugano, which was the best for me. Like symphony, I like with bass. I like to play symphonic repertoire. I don't like play opera with bass because I don't like stay in the tip. I don't like never see the light, and also I don't like always wait for singers when she feel ready, and let's make a 20 time the aria for her. I don't like this. I love the theater. But then, as a conductor, change, because you can join everything. You are not just with bass.
In the corner. Yeah.
Yes, in the corner. And I love opera. I study a lot opera, and this is very easy for me. Listen singer and do everything. But the problem for me with opera, I had a beautiful request for opera world as an agency, etc. But for me, is not work for who have a family. If you have a family and you want to keep family, conduct opera, I think is impossible, because you stay 40 days in New York, 40 days in Madrid, 40 days in Paris, and Bohème, Carmen, etc., no? And if you have a kid, I have friends, for example, that they bring whole family, and they join them, and they made the school on internet, but it is very difficult, and my wife don't like this idea, and also I think kids need to stay in contact with other kids and grow up and see how it's difficult. Go every day in the same school. So I decided, because as an Italian conductor, it's very easy make career with opera, no?
Yeah, sure.
I did a lot of gala. I conducted in October very important gala concert with the most famous singer in Parma. Parma Theater in Festival Verdi. It was a beautiful concert. And but I never decided to join this activity because for me I cannot think about to stay 40 days far from my son and my wife. I think when you become father. Sorry?
Even in Italy, or it's close? I don't know.
Italy, yes, but if you go to Palermo or you go to Parma or you go to, because when I do the things I'm doing like crazy now very well. So if I have to make an opera, I stay all day in the theater. And maybe my family is in the hotel and they stay from. I go back at 8 or 9 at home and I have to study. Because I take a recording, I listen, the singer here is too much the corona, the legato, too much soprano, less baritono, etc., etc. No? And, I think it's impossible to find the best solution, but I'm lucky because I can choose. I have my life as a double bass player. I'm teaching. I love my students. They are crazy, fantastic. They win a lot of important position. Last years they make a lot of. I have a beautiful class here. I have the orchestra. I have very good solution was this orchestra in New York. This Long Island Concert Orchestra.
Yes, actually, I wanted to talk about that.
And this was a good solution for me because it's one of my favorite cities. I go there often. I can teach also Juilliard bass and conduct concert with them and fantastic people from New York Phil or Metropolitan. They join us. We have a lot of fantastic
people. So this is not a problem. This is you can go.
Yes, I go, but I stay 1 week and maybe every 2 months. I can go when I want because I have visa open. So it's but and sometimes maybe I can make 1 or 2 opera in the year. No? But then I had also very important health problem in January, and so before the COVID. I had very important health problem, and I talked a lot about life. Now everything is done. I had an operation at the head, so and I talked a lot about life, and I also see my family. When I stay always at home, how it's different. That you can really work about the relation with the wife, with kids. If you work, of course, I remember, I don't know, in December, for example, I was training, I go to Palermo, and then to Palermo because I conducted the Orchestra Sinfonica Siciliana, and then I was in the jury, and then after Palermo, I back a few hours, and then I go to New York it was a Christmas concert there, and then I back to New York. I arrived at home, I don't know, at 10 in the morning, and at 11 we start for vacation, no? Like, even vacation is a work, because you never have time for yourself, because when you have like 2 weeks free in a year, you cannot say to your family, I need to stay at home because my vacation I will be at home. No more. I don't want to travel, but your family need to travel, Yeah. And then in January I had this big problem, and then I stay a lot. I go to a lot of doctor, and then I made this operation in Zurich, and everything was done. But changed me a lot. But
now it's over. Problems?
Yes, it's totally over. But also the coronavirus was start in Europe, in my home country, where my parents stay, in Codogno. My parents stay in Somalia, and was the first guy that had a COVID-19 was play football in my hometown, and he shared the virus with all participants. That was my old friends, So I was so afraid for my family, and I could never meet my parents for many months, and my brother, I spent like 4 months without seeing my family because I'm in Switzerland and they are in Italy,
Yes.
And you understand a better life in this kind of moment, maybe what you want. And of course, it's very difficult for me when someone asks me, please come to conduct this or no. But now I really organize better when I choose to make something. I don't want big stress. I have to know that orchestra is very well, not maybe big problem. Or maybe I love also young orchestra. You never have a problem with young orchestra, no? Because they want just to learn from you, no?
Yeah, of course.
So it's about conducting.
Enrico, just a small thing. Is it okay for you? Because this thing of Instagram is running 1 hour and not to stop. If I just stop it and we finish after not longly, but we continue to talk, and after it's we finish when you want, okay? But now I cut it for register it, and after just immediately I come back, okay?
Okay.
See you.
See you.
See you. Tac. Alors, donc on reprend encore avec Juliana Steinbach.